Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. People are sailing and get floating fruits at the beginning. Pirate King, Navigation, System, Tongren, Shuangwen upgrade, go through the world of the Pirate King and bind the check.in system at the beginning. Ding! Congratulations on the host binding the check.in system. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully checking in and obtaining the drifting fruit. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the barrier fruit. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the fruit of Jiancheng. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the domineering color and aura. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the invincible swordsmanship, advanced, experience pack. Go down to the world of pirates and become the true king of pirates. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Successful check.in and obtaining floating fruits. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ding! Congratulations on the host binding the check.in system. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully checking in and obtaining the drifting fruit. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the barrier fruit. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the fruit of Jiancheng. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the domineering color and aura. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the invincible swordsmanship, advanced, experience pack. Xiao Luo listened to the sound in his ear and became excited. 5 years. Xiao Luo has traveled to the world of One Piece for 5 years. He knows he has a system, but he doesn't know how to activate it. He made various attempts to activate the system, but didn't expect it to happen today. At the critical moment of the Navy's door-to-door law enforcement, his check-in system was activated. And the system just had a chance to reward him with so many treasures. With various fruits and swordsmanship, Xiao Luo's confidence instantly increased. After pulling Nami back, Xiao Luo stood up and said, "Nami, it's useless to reason with these people. Let me do it." "Gigi, who are you? Do you want to disobey the Navy's orders? Obstructing the Navy's law enforcement is considered a pirate and you should take them all back." "Hee hee. Who am I? I am the one who took your lives." Xiao Luo has had enough of Colonel Mouse's wicked laughter, and before the sailors could gather around, Xiao Luo had already taken the lead in attacking. Chop the waves. Even without the use of armed aura, the strength of the chopping wave can easily tear apart these people. Wow! Before the sailors could react, everyone in front was directly beheaded, including the body of Colonel Mouse. The sea soldiers who were originally surrounding Luo behind were so frightened that they couldn't speak. They wanted to escape this demon-like man. But the feet seemed to tremble uncontrollably, unable to take a step. Xiao Luo did not give them a chance to beg for mercy, and in an instant, he annihilated all the sailors. In less than 3 seconds, all the naval forces brought by Colonel Mouse were annihilated. Xiao Luo. Nami ran up and couldn't help but swallow her saliva as she watched the corpses lying on the ground. "Don't worry, since they have already arrived, this matter cannot be avoided." Xiao Luo withdrew his long sword and said to the women behind him. "The Navy should have come to collect military achievements, and it is likely that they did not repay the higher headquarters. Now that you have killed them here, there are only 2 options left." Karina analyzed the current situation and extended 2 fingers towards Xiao Luo. "Let's hear it." The first one is that we will run away immediately, and we are likely to be wanted by the Navy in the future." It looks really bad. How could it be wanted so quickly?" "Another one." Karina took a long breath and said the second solution with a complex expression. "The second way is to invade the 16th branch and annihilate all the Navy inside, so that no one knows we killed them." Xiao Luo lowered his head and pondered for a moment. The second option was undoubtedly the best option, but he also did not want to engage in mass killings. Even in the navy, there are not all bad people, so Xiao Luo still wants to go and see. So, have you considered it? Karina approached and asked. No, let's go check with the 16th branch first before making a decision. The naval base should have the information I want. Xiao Luo shook his head, and he himself still has no answer on how to make a decision. Okay, I'll go with you. Well, Karina and Nami can go with me, but Kaya, wait for me here. Xiao Luo turned his head and said to Kuya and Noki Gao, then picked up the waist of the two women and took off towards the naval base. Kia showed a worried expression, and Noki stepped forward to hug Kia and comfort her. Don't worry, they will definitely handle everything well. After flying at full speed, it didn't take long to reach the 16th Naval Branch. Carefully avoiding the defending sailors, we walked all the way to the colonel's office. After defeating the sea soldier guarding the door, Xiao Luo and the three others began to rummage through the office. In no time, I dug through numerous criminal evidence of Colonel Mouse. It turns out that this naval base is not without righteous people, and when nearby civilians sought help, it was reported to Colonel Mouse. But they were all suppressed by Colonel Mouse, and after being suppressed once, the conscientious Navy finally couldn't bear it and chose to report to the higher-level Navy headquarters. Unexpectedly, the undercover agent planted by Colonel Mouse learned about this move. After learning that this group of people wanted to spare themselves and report the situation to the headquarters, they were all sent to the deserter list and then expelled from the Navy. The sailors who were expelled from the Navy in this way can no longer join the Navy, and their words are not trusted by the people of the Navy. So the entire naval base is left with sailors who collude with Colonel Mouse. It's really despicable, it's like a nest of snakes and mice. There's not a good person here. Nami and Karina, who finished reading the materials, were indignant. Well, keeping this naval base is also a threat to the surrounding civilians, so there is no need for them to exist. With a determined determination, Xiao Luo's gaze turned cold, no longer hiding his figure, and walked openly out of the Navy colonel's office. Who are you? Invaders have entered. Not long after, I met several sailors who were holding muskets at Xiao Luo, but before they could shoot, Xiao Luo disappeared from their eyes. The fierce slash took away their lives, and Xiao Luo used storage space to pack up all the bodies. Next is the massacre at the naval base. It took less than half an hour for Xiao Luo to clean up the corrupt navy at this base. Under the perception of seeing and smelling colors, there was no living breath, and all the bodies of Xiao Luo were thrown into the sea. The sea beasts who smelled the bloody smell came one after another to devour these corpses. Why throw these navies into the sea? Nami felt a bit strange about Xiao Luo's actions. I want to take this naval base away. Colonel Mouse is a very enjoyable person who has built many luxurious equipment here. It's too wasteful not to use it. I don't want to leave these things for the next navy to enjoy. Xiao Luo explained very clearly, but Nami still has some doubts. Take it away. Where can I take it? Hee, then you can just watch. He didn't explain it to Nami, but let the other party see it with their own eyes. I saw Xiao Luo reaching out and holding down the ground, fully unleashing the ability of the floating fruit. Bang, bang, bang. Suddenly, the entire naval base began to shake, and then Nami and Karina felt as if their perspectives were being lifted up. The next scene directly shattered their worldview, and the two of them stared at Luo in amazement. Fly. Fly up, the entire naval base is flying up. Nami stuttered through her words. The fierce seawater poured into the area where the naval base had just risen, and by this time the entire naval base had already flown out of the sea. Wow, fortunately I have enough stamina. If it weren't for me absorbing a lot of energy to maintain my stamina, I probably wouldn't have been able to easily float the entire naval base. Chapter 2. Obtaining the base. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Xia Luo took a long breath and wiped the sweat from his forehead. Using fruit power to float on the entire island is still very physically demanding, not to mention the state of not yet awakened. Fortunately, after successfully activating the ability, there is no need to use physical strength to maintain it. How did you do it? This is an entire island. Karina approached and asked. She was also a demon fruit power person, but she never imagined that a fruit power person could do such a thing. The main fruit's ability is strong enough and can be achieved with enough physical strength, just like your strongest defense. If your fruit's ability is developed to its limit, there will be no attacks in the world that can break it. Xia Luo explained to Karina with a smile. I plan to raise this island to an altitude of 10,000 meters, and in the future, let's treat it as our secret base. Xia Luo looked at this naval base with satisfaction, but the flag of the navy was a bit eye-catching. No, we need to find a time to renovate this place and build it into our own headquarters. Let's go back to Kokoja village first, take a few days off before we set off for Log town. Xia Luo suggested, but the two women, who were in a daze, didn't pay attention to what Xia Luo said. They just nodded and then lifted the island into the air. Then they greeted Nami and Karina to search for the treasure trove of this naval base. Colonel Mouse can be said to have drained the blood of nearby villages, and there is also a large amount of military spending allocated to this place every year. He took it all to enjoy, as can be seen from the luxurious facilities here. But now it's all cheaper. Coming out of the Navy's treasure trove, Xia Luo finally understood how wealthy Colonel Mouse was. Bailey alone had a total of 3 billion and even collected several famous swords. These money made Nami laugh and sleep for the next few days, unable to close her mouth, murmuring in her dreams, a lot of money, it's all mine. Returning to the village of Kakexia, Nokigo and Kia breathed a sigh of relief when they saw that none of the three were injured. After 3 days of peaceful coexistence. Pinch it, Nokigao, you don't want Nami to be alone in the future, do you? He, if you're sensible, just follow me on the boat. Xia Luo showed an evil smile and was about to reach out and grab Nokigao. You stupid captain. What are you doing to someone else's sister again? Hurry up and board the ship for me to set off. Nami kicked Luo away with a flying kick. I'm trying to keep your two sisters together. Xia Luo showed his daughter Law being bullied, covering her face that had been kicked by Nami, and Wei Chu Baba looked at her. Actually, this one can't break through the defense at all. Noki looked down at the warm daily interaction between Luo and Nami and laughed out loud, then revealed a gentle smile and whispered softly. Sure. Agreed. I thought Nokigo would remain silent as usual, but this time she responded abnormally. Xia Luo thought he heard it wrong. Nami was also surprised. She thought her sister would stay in the orange orchard, but to her surprise, Xia Luo reluctantly agreed to go out to sea together. Even me, I can't refuse such a sincere invitation all the time, and I also want to go out and see it. Noki blinked her eyes at Nami. Her mischievous and adorable appearance was vastly different from the previous gentle and kind image of a big sister. Woohoo, that's great. Xia Luo hugged Nami and Noki and spun high. The two women were startled and screamed, but they chuckled as they looked at Xia Luo, who looked like a child. Set sail. Target, the starry sea. Xia Luo shouted the slogan of Zhong Air and flew out holding the two women. On the edge of the cliff, Aegean smiled slightly as he watched the sailing ship go far away. Belle Mel, your daughter has found a good companion. Starting today, they will be going out to sea. If you are still here, you must be very happy to see this scene. Chapter 3. Monitoring the Trends of the Navy. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It has been 2 days since Xia Luo left Kakexia village. The conference room of the naval headquarters building. Marshal Warring States was sitting in the main seat of the conference room, with General Qingji, General Huang Ape, General Chigo, and General Crane below. Next are several well-known pillars of the Navy, including Ghost Spider, Fire Mountain, Mole, and Doberman. What is your opinion on the disappearance of the 16th Navy branch and all its members? During the Warring States period, he rubbed his brows and said to the people below. 2 days ago, an express report was delivered to the Warring States period. The 16th Naval Branch disappeared out of thin air. The life and death of all members are unknown, and the dragon pirates in the East China Sea are being defeated by the double-blade flow swordsman named Xia Luo. And there is also a scene of Luo slaying the dragon pirates in the attached picture. The double-blade flow swordsman Xia Luo is suspected to have used the unknown devil fruit to manipulate the power of the soil. Subsequently, it was revealed that the Xia Luo bounty plan had killed the pirates, and more than a dozen pirates worth millions or even millions of dollars had all died at his hands. This news was released by Morgan Gans, the president of the World Economic News Agency. Since receiving a photo taken by News Bird of Luo killing the East China Sea Tyrannosaurus Rex, Morgan Gans immediately dispatched his men to investigate Luo's deeds. It's better not to check. Upon inspection, it was discovered that Xia Luo had almost slaughtered all the famous pirates in the East China Sea, and the rest were not encountered. Morgan Gans instantly smelled the smell of big news and revealed all of Xia Luo's actions and achievements. Now Xia Luo has become a supernova bounty hunter in the East China Sea. The Warring States period immediately notified Kapu, who was still in the East China Sea, to go to the 16th branch. The 3 generals who happened to be on a mission have all returned, and the Warring States urgently held a meeting to discuss the events in the East China Sea. The situation with the 16th branch seems to be like the actions of this double-blade flowing swordsman, right? Otherwise, how could it be so coincidental? This evil person should be hanged and immediately dispatched by the Navy to clean up. Red Dog snorted coldly and became suspicious of Xia Luo's appearance in the village of Cachexia near the 16th branch. But we don't have actual evidence to prove that he did what happened in the 16th branch, do we? General Crane said calmly and softly. It's not wise to rashly push a powerful bounty hunter towards opposition. Qingji also expressed his opinions on the side. Young people nowadays are really scary. Even that dragon pirate group was easily taken down solved it, not only swordsmanship, but also the ability of devil fruit looks very powerful. The yellow ape drank tea with a leisurely expression on his face and spoke terrifyingly, completely forgetting that he had easily defeated and arrested the dragon pirates before. On the other hand, Cap hurried to the 16th Naval Base, but when he arrived at his position, he found it completely empty. Not to mention being a naval base, there wasn't even a small island, which scared the sailors on the Kapu ship to think they had gone to the wrong place. After confirming multiple times, they found out that this branch had really disappeared out of thin air. Helplessly unable to find any clues, Cap could only move towards the nearby village of Kokosia. When you first arrive on the island, you can clearly feel the cheerful atmosphere. The civilians here are filled with cheerful smiles. With the intervention of the Navy, the people's faces darkened one after another, and they closed doors and windows door by door. Cap was a bit confused about the situation when a voice came from behind them. May I ask Navy officials, what's up with you coming to Cachexia village? Aegean asked with a calm expression. Oh, finally, there's someone who can speak. I'm a major general in the Navy headquarters. I came here to investigate the disappearance of the 16th Navy branch. Do you have any clues here? Seeing that someone finally got along, Cap showed a broad smile. However, Aegean across from him frowned and then returned to a calm tone. Navy 16th branch. I'm not quite sure, but a masked man handed me a letter a few days ago, saying that if a Navy came over, they could give it to you. Aegean took out a letter from his arms, which was exactly the various criminal evidence of Colonel Mouse left for him by Xia Luo. Kapu took it and started flipping through it, but as he looked at it, his face became increasingly ugly, with veins bulging on his head and his hand holding the letter trembling slightly. These damn bastards, I didn't expect that I haven't returned to Donghai for so long. Has this place become so corrupt? Capuna's angry voice came from his mouth, and at this moment he was already the explosive barrel about to be ignited, with nowhere to go to unleash his anger. We are truly sorry for the civilians in Kakexia village. Kapu bowed deeply to Aegean, his expression filled with remorse. Jian was stunned on the spot. How could the navy, which used to be high and mighty, now bow down like a civilian like himself? No, Lieutenant General, you speak too seriously. Aegean helped up Kapu so that the other party didn't have to blame themselves. Sigh. Kapu sighed helplessly, feeling powerless to prevent such incidents from happening. He only hated why he was not present at the time. There's one more thing I want to ask, it's about the double-blade flowing swordsman Xia Luo. Have you seen him during the disappearance of Naval Base 16? Is there anything unusual about him? Are you here? Jian's expression remained unchanged, but as Cap talked about Xia Luo, he immediately smiled and said in a tone of admiration. Xia Luo, he is a great benefactor of our village, and it is precisely because he defeated the dragon pirates that we and the surrounding villages were liberated. After the liberation of the village, we held banquets to celebrate for 5 consecutive days, and Xia Luo stayed with us without any abnormality. Until 2 days ago, Xia Luo said he had a new journey and planned to continue traveling around the world and set sail again. Do you have any further questions, Admiral? Aegean said with a smile on his face, and Kapu took a meaningful look. No, we have a rough idea of the situation. Next, we will dispatch a new navy to guard here and investigate the reason for the disappearance of the 16th branch. I promise I won't do that kind of thing before it happens. Kapu solemnly swore and then returned to the ship with his subordinates. He then took out a phone worm and dialed it out. Brew 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 brew. Kapu, do you have any news from there? At the meeting, the Warring States period connected the telephone worm and amplified the sound so that everyone present could hear it. Later, Kapu began talking about the 16th branch and stayed with the villagers for 5 days until he left 2 days ago. Bang! These guys are really going the other way. Do they treat themselves like the local emperor of the East China Sea? There are such scumbags in the navy. During the Warring States period, he angrily pounded the table. Unexpectedly, the diligent and hard-working naval bases in previous years were an extremely corrupt place, and even defrauded a large amount of military expenses on the grounds that there were too many wounded and needed compensation. Immediately notify the members of the branch to revoke their desertion records, and then send someone over to apologize. If they are still willing to join the Navy, send them back to their headquarters for further education. The Warring States period said to the recorder beside him. Yes, Marshal of the Warring States period. The recorder immediately ran out of the door and ordered the soldiers waiting outside. Sigh. General Crane sighed helplessly. There was silence on the field. If those guys are still alive, they must all be sent to a military court and sentenced to death. The Red Dog couldn't help but roar in an extremely angry voice. It's useless to say all of this now. The entire base is gone, and it's probably all killed in action. Let's talk about how to deal with him. The cold voice of the Green Pheasant rang out, and what Cap had just told him made him suppress his anger. At this moment, his mood could be said to be very bad. Notify the Navy below that anyone who encounters Xia Luo will be invited to the position of Brigadier General in our headquarters. There is no evidence that Xia Luo did this. Instead of setting up an enemy for the Navy, it is better to bring people to our camp. General, he spoke calmly, and with extensive experience, she calmly analyzed the situation. Let's make that decision then. I will personally draft it for Wulaoxing. There was no objection on site, and the Warring States immediately took action to have their subordinates notify the people below to observe in real time. If they encounter Xia Luo, they will be invited to join the Navy. The meeting was dissolved and everyone left the room one after another. Akiu. At this time, Xia Luo, who was sailing in the sea, did not know that due to the incident with the 16th branch, the Navy also held a meeting for him. Strange, who thinks of me? I sneezed a few times today. Did I catch a cold? It's impossible. How could the physique of a steel balloon catch a cold? Forget it, let's stick it with Nami instead. Xia Luo ran to Nami's side with a happy expression on his face. Since the dragon's death, Nami had an immense sense of dependence and security towards Xia Luo. In addition, these days I have been accustomed to Xia Luo's constant pasting behavior, and in the end, I no longer dislike Xia Luo's pasting. Chapter 4. Rewards for various items in the system. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Due to the long cooling time of this check.in, Xia Luo did not directly go to Rog Town to wait, but instead wandered around in the East China Sea. The practice of having a specialty meal at a local restaurant every time you visit a city or village, and purchasing specialty dishes from the boss. For this, Xia Luo even made a special trip to the sea restaurant Bloodline. Spending 50 million belly to fully replenish their body energy there made Nami and Karina feel heartbroken and shed tears. After digesting these delicious foods, Xia Luo's body underwent further changes. Host. Xia Power. A. Agile. B+, Spirit. B. Skills. Kendo B. Armed Color Dominance C+, Seeing and Hearing Color Dominance C+, Dominance Color Dominance C+, Navy Type 6 Shaving C+, Moon Step C+, Fruit Ability. Drifting Fruit B, Talent. Steel Balloon, Equipment. Deadwood, Sakura 10, Comprehensive Evaluation. Navy Elite Lieutenant General Level Combat Power. You can now stand firm on the Great Route. Now Xia Luo feels that as he eats more food, his body's strength also increases, and his energy seems to be slowly changing his physique. The most intuitive thing is that all three aspects of strength, agility, and spirit have been improved by a small stage, and swordsmanship has gradually been cultivated and improved to be. Combined with other attributes, he can stand firm in the sea, but it is still impossible to confront those massive forces. Now Xia Luo urgently wants to enhance the domineering aura of the Overlord color, but this skill cannot be improved through cultivation. It can only grow with one's own aura, and the stronger one's aura, the stronger the Overlord color's domineering aura becomes. Further efforts are needed to improve other skills. Nami, are the chefs at Bloodline willing to sell the cooking methods here? Xia Luobai looked bored as Nami returned from the outing, hugging her from behind and resting her head on her shoulder. That chef is very easy to handle. I just said that after wanting to learn such culinary skills, he handed over all his culinary knowledge to me. Namibai blinked at Xia Luo with this okay gesture. Xia Luo grinned and gave a thumbs up. Good guy, it's truly you, Nami. It's just a waste of time. These days, besides practicing, the few women on the ship are the most diligent in cooking, as they have not yet reached enough physical fitness for practicing shaving and moonwalking. At present, the training for Nami and her team only focuses on physical fitness, but there is also a need to maintain the amount of training. He didn't expect that when Nami, Karina, and Noki were several years tall, their bodies would suddenly swell and become muscular. Noki Gao is quite interested in Xia Luo's swordsmanship. Xia Luo allocated some time to practicing swordsmanship while allowing Noki to train her physical fitness. But I didn't expect Noki Gao to use his learned swordsmanship to cook, which left Xia Luo speechless. Sigh, I can't stand the two of you. It should be around time to go to Log Town, otherwise I won't be able to catch up with your plan. Karina walked out of the cabin and saw that Nami had already returned. After receiving Nami's culinary experience, I started researching. The women on board, including Xia Luo, have all studied advanced cooking books in the training room, and their cooking skills have all been elevated to the intermediate level. Noki has a slightly better talent and already has a foundation. After a period of training after studying, her cooking level directly improves to a higher level, becoming the highest level of cooking on board, now serving as a ship chef position. The culinary experience of the Bharati restaurant has been obtained, and it is indeed time to set off. What about Nochi Gao and Kuya? Xiao Luo rubbed against Nami, who was leaning in her arms, but was punched by her blushing face. Obviously, there is currently no psychological quality like in the original work. If it were for the bold and unrestrained Nami in the original work, she probably wouldn't care so much. Nokigo is still researching new dishes in the kitchen, which is her current hobby, as for Kia taking notes and researching medicine in her room. Karina shrugged her shoulders, feeling a bit overwhelmed by their current awkwardness. Xiao Luo usually wants her to put up stickers, but sometimes she is blocked by Karina using a barrier, so Xiao Luo can only look at her with a resentful little gaze. If I fly at full speed, I estimate I can reach Log Town within 2 days, Xiao Luo said to the two women after releasing Nami from his arms. You guys go back to the cabin first, I'll control the sailboat. Remember to ask Noki Gao to leave me a newly researched dish, and I also want to try it. 2 days later, they arrived safely in Log Town. There was also a storm during the period. Fortunately, the weather perception of Nami prevented the sailboat from rushing into the rainstorm. After raising the sailboat to a height of 10,000 meters, Xiao Luo also managed to avoid this storm. Ding, the check.in system has detected the target town of Log. Are you checking in on the target? Sign in, ding, obtain the experience pack of armed color dominance, ding, obtain 1 ton of Xinjin metal, ding, obtain arc reaction furnace technology, wachow, the check.in reward this time is a bit beyond expectations. If I remember correctly, the Xinjin and arc reactors are products of the Mayman worldview. Surprisingly, he was able to discover technology and materials from other worlds, which Xiao Luo did not expect. He thought it was just some magical modification. For example, the black chicken and white phoenix pills obtained by Xiao Luo before, as well as storage space and so on. An idea flashed through my mind. Xiao Luo has already thought of ways to enhance Nami and Noki's combat power. The remaining experience pack of armed color dominance is just enough to elevate Luo's level to B.level. There will be a significant increase in the intensity of each leap, and the lower Luo feels like the attack and defense power obtained from the self-armed color entanglement have both increased. Even if you haven't learned the usage of these moves from Nagri, it is estimated that you will automatically master these skills after improving your proficiency. What are you standing there doing? Karina shouted at the lower row in the harbor. Oh, here we go. After regaining his senses, Xiao Luo quickly followed the steps of the women. Nokigo and Kia are planning to go grocery shopping. Where are you planning to go? Nami asked. Maybe go take a look at the One Piece's execution platform, and then take a look around. Where are you and Karina going? Xiao Luo lowered his head and pondered for a while, only to find that he didn't have much place to go and replied. Nami and I are going to visit a clothing store. Since you have nothing else to do, we can only blame you for helping us carry things. Seeing Luo's answer that there was nothing to do, Karina smiled triumphantly and immediately hugged Luo's arm, tempting her. Unable to resist the temptation, Xiao Luo immediately agreed. But next, Luo will have to pay a price for his choice. Almost done. Xiao Luo looks like an eggplant beaten by frost, and his whole body is feeling lethargic. Ha! What are you talking about? This has just begun. Karina looked back at Luo in confusion and noticed his condition before covering her mouth and laughing. Alright, I'll give you a reward after persisting for a while. It'll be fine in a little while. Karina blinked at Xiao Luo and comforted him with a seductive smile on her face. We also need to change to a bigger sailboat. Let's go to the shipyard together later. Speaking of rewards, Luo is not tired anymore, and his spirit immediately returned to their normal state. But he really doesn't want to go through this experience of accompanying a woman shopping again. Chapter 5. One move to quickly kill Smog. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After accompanying the two women on the street, Xiao Luo also went to the execution table of the Pirate King, but it looked really ordinary. I don't have the kind of resonance that animation portrays, and in reality, I can only feel a little bit of the spirit that lingers here. Later, with the two of them searching for the record pointers of the Great Route in Rog Town, the effort paid off. Finally, they bought some record pointers and forever pointers at a map store. Arriving at the shipyard, I selected a triangular sailboat of similar size to the Golden Mary. It cost 20 million Bailey, but fortunately it was worth a few meals. Now Xiao Luo is a man with 3.7 billion Bailey, and Colonel Mouse's contribution saved him from spending too much energy on making money in the future. Just as Xiao Luo was carrying the supplies on the small sailboat, a Navy team arrived in front of him. The newcomer is quite an old acquaintance, Smog the White Hunter, a truly righteous Navy. It is said that old acquaintances mainly refer to this White Hunter, who frequently appears in online articles read by Xiao Luo in his past life, and often leaves exhausted. Even in the animation, it ended in a slump, and there was no performance in the later stages. Following Smog was a girl with short hair and red-framed glasses. Daki, in the later stage, she was a girl who truly had a righteous heart, but now it seems like in the early stage. Well, the difference is quite significant visually. Dashi suddenly felt a chill and tightened her tight-fitting clothes, following Smog to Xiao Luo. Your Excellency is Xiao Luo, the double-blade flowing sword hero who has recently gained fame, Smog said in a determined tone as he smoked. That's right, may I ask what's up? Xiao Luo felt a bit inexplicable. A few days ago, he also read Morgan Stanley's newspaper and thought the Navy would suspect him of posting a bounty on his head. But after so long without any news from the Navy, I thought they didn't pay much attention to him, a small and unremarkable person. I am Navy Colonel Smog stationed in Rog Town, and this time I am mainly inviting you on behalf of the Navy headquarters. As long as you join the Navy, you can go to the headquarters of the Navy to be awarded the rank of Brigadier General and promote your achievements in fighting pirates in the East China Sea. With your strength, I believe it won't be long before you can be promoted to Major General. Smog slowly exhaled a cigarette ring and looked at Luo with a sharp gaze. However, Xiao Luo felt a bit confused at this moment. Did he invite himself to join the Navy again? No wonder there hasn't been much movement in the Navy before. It turned out that this was the idea. No, I yearn for a free life. Instead of working 9 to 5 in the Navy, it's better to have some freedom outside. Xiao Luo smiled and refused Smog's invitation. But shouldn't people with power need to uphold the justice of the sea more? If a powerful bounty hunter like Lord Xiao Luo joins the Navy, he will definitely be valued. Daki couldn't help but speak on the side. Dashi. Yes. Smog let out an impatient roar, and the latter immediately trembled with respect. There's no place for you to talk here. Smog glanced helplessly at Daki and spoke up. This little girl, upholding justice is a good thing, but you cannot use it to constrain my personal behavior. I yearn for freedom and want to explore the mysteries of the world, watch the beautiful scenery of the world, and then spend my life with the crew in obscurity. This is my pursuit, so I apologize for not being able to agree to your invitation. But I said, there's no place for you to interject here. Dashi wanted to say something, but Smog didn't let the other person shout again. Your Excellency, are you really not considering it? Smog looked at Luo with a deep meaning. Xiao Luo shook his head and refused. Alas, we have no right to force civilians to join. Since Your Excellency Xiao Luo is unwilling, we will not force it either. Next are some personal questions for me. Could you please invite you to have a competition with me? Seeing that the other party had no intention of doing so, Smog also gave up and then showed a serious expression and issued an invitation. Hee, I didn't expect someone to come knocking on your door and beg for help. You are truly worthy of the title of eating the weak king. Since everyone has come to the world of pirates, it is not perfect to not let Smog suffer from this life. Xia Luo immediately agreed. The navies retreated and dispersed, starting to disperse nearby civilians, leaving a large open space on the field. Smog and Xia Luo faced off. Xia Luo drew out his double swords and put on a posture. That's the famous knives Kuki and Sakura 10, but the maintenance of the blade doesn't look very good. Dashi exclaimed in surprise, and upon seeing the condition of the sword, she let out a voice of regret and heartache. Aren't these two knives in the hands of the legendary pirate Golden Lion? How could they appear here? Then Daki looked at Luo in confusion. Upon hearing Dashi's words, Smog's gaze became even sharper, and he asked in a slightly icy tone. Xia Luo, what is your relationship with the Golden Lion? Why do you have his double swords? Xia Luo did not feel any panic about the origin of the broken sword, but instead spoke in a relaxed tone. Well, I took it down from a corpse with a sword on both legs. I used to drift to a small island and lived there for 5 years. So I often pick up some supplies on the shore, until one day a golden-haired uncle drifted to the island, and when I tried to save him, I found out he was already dead. What's the problem with the double swords that could only be removed from his legs and buried in the end? Looking at the opponent's flawless expression, Smog, who had no evidence, could not define him as a pirate just because of 2 swords, and in the end, he did not inquire too much. But there is good news from Xia Luo's mouth. The great pirate Golden Lion Z is already dead. No problem, just a little curious. Xia Luo waved to signal that Smog could attack now. In an instant, smoke filled the air, and Smog's body turned into white smoke and rushed up. White Fist, both arms smoke and break free from the constraints of the body, shooting out like bullets. Xia Luo easily dodged with a slight dodge, and the evaded White Fist began to revolve around Xia Luo. The white mist also increased as if it was about to devour Xia Luo. Xia Luo smiled and didn't care. This move didn't pose any threat to him, and a shaver flashed directly behind Smog. The double swords covered the armor with a domineering aura and the entanglement of a domineering aura, and a powerful slashing wave blasted out. This move is undoubtedly the Armstrong Whirlwind accelerated jet Armstrong Whirlwind / used by the previous capture of Pirate Ricky in the lower Luo. But this time it's not as long as the previous one, and the added dominance is only a small amount. So let's name it Armstrong / and Xia Luo silently named his move in his heart. Because Smog is aware of the existence of the Golden Lion, there should also be information about the Golden Lion in this department, so Xia Luo does not intend to use the sword skills of the Golden Lion to expose his identity. Oops. Smog, who was hit, transformed into a black shadow and ran through a house, falling heavily. Colonel Smog. Dashi exclaimed with concern, how could it be? Colonel Smog is a person with the ability to eat the fruits of natural demons, and ordinary attacks cannot touch his body. But how could this be? Daki is still shocked by Smog's defeat. Smoky residents inside the building, Smog spat out 2 mouthfuls of blood and struggled to stand up. Just now, that one was armed and domineering, right? Unexpectedly, there are still newcomers in the East China Sea who have mastered armed colors. Smog struggled to lean against the wall and walked out of the residential building, speaking in a positive tone. That's right. Xia Luo replied with a smile, do you still want to fight? No, I am not your opponent. Even if we continue to fight like this, it will still be my defeat. Smog remained silent for a moment and then said heavily. I hope you won't go against the Shanghai army. Smog looked at Luo in fear, then left with the navy, and Luo waved at him. Not only does he have a domineering aura, but has he also mastered the armed aura. Judging from his recent evasion of my attack, I believe he has also achieved something in his aura. Having mastered the three colors domineering aura and the monster-like power just now, he is really a very dangerous person. He must report to Marshal Warring States immediately. Smog touched the spot where he had been hit by Luo, and there was still a piercing pain. However, Smog still held on under his hand. After defeating Smog on the other side, Luo also received a system prompt sound. Ding, the next check.in location is Alabaston, and check.in will be open in 40 days. Please go to the check.in location for check.in. In the past, it used to be an increase of 5 days each time. Why does this check.in take 40 days to open? Xiao Luo has some doubts, but it happens that he wants to go somewhere during this period. Chapter 6. Killer Clan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Beihai. Xiao Luo stood on the deck holding a newspaper. The news reported today can be described as extremely explosive. The end of the great pirate. Legendary pirate Golden Lion Shurji died on a small island in the East China Sea. Captain Ace of the Spade Pirates failed to challenge Whitebeard. I have now joined the Whitebeard Pirates as the captain of the second team. Morgan's news is so well informed, I'm afraid there are also personnel deployed within the Navy. It was already known to Xiao Luo that Ace joined Whitebeard, and the last newspaper also saw a report of Ace challenging Whitebeard. How is Xiao Luo? Have you found anything? Nami walked out of the cabin and asked as she watched Luo fishing. Xiao Luo shook his head and said, no. The country in fairy tales is so absurd. If I hadn't seen such things with you before, I wouldn't have messed with you. Nami looked helpless. 10 days ago, Xiao Luo said he was going to the North Sea to search for a kingdom called Jelma. At first, Nami and the others were unaware of the situation in Beihai and thought it would be better to go there to see and see. It was not until I went to the local area to inquire about the intelligence of the kingdom of Jelma that I learned that it was a country depicted in a comic book, which is a fairy tale. This surprised several women. Xiao Luo actually wanted to find a country that exists in fairy tales. It's impossible to think about it. So they all inquired about the situation of the kingdom of Jelma, and only with the explanation of Xiao Luo did they learn that Jelma 66 is a well-known assassin clan in the underground world. The so-called fairy tale is a comic strip created by the antagonistic forces based on the prototype of Jelma 66. Then Xiao Luo began to eliminate the local gang, and finally found a gang that had just cooperated with Jelma 66 after clearing several islands. It was only after following the information provided by the other party that I finally found this place. Hey, it seems we can only continue searching nearby. Those damn gangs, if they dare to deceive me, I will definitely uproot their entire family when I go back. The teeth of Shaluachi itch, and the address given by the gang is the place where the kingdom of Jelma stayed 2 days ago, but because the kingdom of Jelma is a mobile country. It's not easy to find them, but with such a large volume, it's probably slow to move. Xiao Luo could only let go of the domineering extension of the sight and smell, and then kept looking down from high altitude, hoping to find Jelma 66. Whatever you want, I need to go back and continue taking a beauty nap. Nami shook her hand and turned around uninteresting before returning to the cabin. Don't worry, it's boring for me to watch alone here. Come and chat with me. With a mischievous smile, Xiao Luo reached out and grabbed Nami's wrist, pulling hard and holding her in her arms. It's you who wants to find Jelma 66, not me. Nami rolled her eyes, accustomed to this kind of action by Xiao Luo. So, after a while, Nami couldn't stand Xiao Luo's clumsiness and ran away in embarrassment. Ah, you're still young, not open enough. Xiao Luo let out a sigh, but he was already satisfied, at least his relationship with Nami had gone further. If it were 2 years later, it would be great. Although the current Nami is already very plump, it is much worse than the future Nami. Oh, that one. Bored, Xiao Luo began to look into the distance and suddenly noticed something unusual. In Xia Luo's view, a black dot on one side of the sea is slowly moving. Squinting his eyes and gazing over, he was clearly the target he was looking for, the kingdom of Jelma. Great, finally found it. Fortunately, those guys didn't lie to me. Luo Dashi said, it's really good to search for a view in the sky. Then he turned around and immediately returned to the cabin to inform the women of this news. What? Did you really find it? Karina looked shocked. She had no hope for the operation of Xia Luo, but she didn't expect that this time she would run into a dead mouse. That's right, you'll just stay on the ship. It's probably a bit dangerous this time. Since that's the case, why don't you bring me along too? My barrier fruit can also help you. Karina was a bit dissatisfied, feeling that Luo had underestimated her a bit. Now, the strength of the women has greatly improved compared to before. Especially the ability of the barrier fruit. Karina felt like she could also be counted in the same combat power, but Xia Luo actually kept her hands on the ship, which is not because she looks down on her. Well behaved, the enemy this time is different. Jelma 66 has the ability to fly and fight, and I'm afraid they will come to hold others hostage. You can stay on the ship and protect the others. Xia Luo smiled and touched Karina's head, then turned around and walked out of the cabin. The only reason for searching for the kingdom of Jerma this time is the arc reactor. There are many people in the world who can create this thing, but none of them are very difficult to find. Coincidentally, the kingdom of Jelma is the place with the ability to build the arc reactor, and Xia Luo also plans to have the throne of Jelma make a set of combat uniforms for himself and a few women, and upgrade his sword. Although Kuki Sakura 10 belongs to the category of big and fast knives, the effect of vibration gold is indeed good, with the characteristic of absorbing impact. If this puts Zenfinance into one's own double sword, one's own strength will definitely increase significantly. If we could add vibration gold to the battle suit, this material that absorbs impact would definitely be very good. Fantasizing a beautiful future, the speed of Xia Luo's progress has also increased. As soon as we reached the airspace over the kingdom of Jelma, the alarm began to sound below. Obviously, they have already discovered it, but this is also the purpose of Xia Luo. Instead of sneaking in and having a big conversation with the other person, it's better to have a fight first and then have a good conversation. Jelma is not a good person, he is not good at dealing with the other party without equal strength. Collaboration is a dead end. The first thing that Xia Luo needs to demonstrate is his own strength. Only by making the other party understand his strength can he dare not make small moves behind his back. In no time, a large number of soldiers walked out of the castle. Immediately after, 5 figures of different colors appeared wearing combat uniforms. It was the ruler of Jelma, Smog Gotzi, and his 4 children. Intruder, what is your purpose here? Jiaji didn't know the person he came from, but from his temperament, he didn't seem to be a simple person. He could only inquire about the situation tentatively first. I want the kingdom of Jelma to help me craft some battle suits and then help me forge my sword again. Oh, by the way, if possible, can the pink girl over there let me take her on the boat? I fell in love with her at first sight. Xia Luo joked and said with a smile. Are you joking? Do you consider Jelma your servant? You dare to come and provoke me. I see you're living impatiently. Upon hearing what Luo said, Jia Ji was instantly enraged and a well popped out of his forehead. Don't be so angry, I came with sincerity. I have a research diagram of the technology here, and I can give it to you or bring it to you by the way war clothes upgrade. Xia Luo spread his hand and said. No matter what technology you bring, daring to provoke Jelma will only lead to death. Yes, I understand the process. Isn't it just a fight first? Come on. Xia Luo smiled helplessly, never expecting the other party to agree directly at the beginning, so he directly expressed his request. After everything is finished, it will be easy to say. Smog Gotzi is a very cowardly person. When facing danger, he will show his cowardly side, and then it will be easier to talk about the terms. The premise is that your strength is stronger than him. Coincidentally, Xia Luo's current strength is very strong. Chapter 7. Bloodline Factors. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Leijio, Izzy, let him see the power of Jelma. Jiaji calmly issued orders, and upon receiving them, Leijio and Yi immediately entered a state of combat. A flash arrived and surrounded the area near Xiaolua, one left and one right. Don't we go up together? Xia Luo said to Jiaji. Are you looking down on us, this guy? Upon hearing Luo's inquiry about Jiaji's words, Yi felt that he had been looked down upon, but without any emotions, he had no emotions. If we don't go up together, then you will lose the ability to resist. Xia Luo shook his head, his tone calm as if telling a certain thing. Hi, you can leave now. Xia Luo used his razor to come behind Yi and kicked him into the forest of the kingdom. There was no mercy in this kick, it included both armed and domineering colors, coupled with Xia Luo's monster physique, which almost broke Yi's waist. So fast. All the people present were left with this idea and dared not exaggerate, as they entered a state of combat. But now they are still much worse than 4 years later, and the only person who can form combat power is probably only Jiaji. But at this time, the strength of Jiaji was only comparable to that of a naval lieutenant general. The technical shortcomings have enabled him, who relies on technology, to reach the level 4 years later. Your strength is still too young now, so be honest and leave first. As he spoke, his figure had already come to Niji and Yongji's side. When the two of them were sweating profusely, but before they could move, their heads had already been grabbed. Then he pulled towards the middle like a walnut, and the two of them frothed and couldn't get up. The power of Xia Luo is not a joke. Although the bloodline factor transformed people are all steel and iron, they were unable to withstand the strong dominance of the king color after infusion. Niche. Brave governance. Leijio let out a worried shout. Don't worry, little sister over there, the two of them are fine, they just fainted. But I advise you not to move, I don't want to harm you. Xia Luo smiled and said to Leijio in a relaxed and comfortable tone. Damn it, Leijio, please step down. This guy is different from the others. Jiaji's expression was cold and stern, and he ordered Leijio to retreat. Leijio, who received the command, did not hesitate to execute it. Transformed individuals who have been genetically modified by bloodline factors are unable to resist the commands of Jiaji. You're different from others, no wonder you have the courage to break into the kingdom of Jelma. But if you think Jelma only has these powers, then you're completely wrong. Copy the troops and send them all to me. Jiaji showed an evil smile. In his opinion, even if the opponent was strong, they did not reach the level of the fourth emperor, as long as they were piled up with people. Waiting for him to show his fatigue is the best time to attack himself. However, his calculation was wrong. He did not anticipate that Xia Luo would have a monster like Charlotte Lingling's physique, and physical strength was the most essential thing for him. Is it a tactic of sea of people? Doing everything is useless, but since I am a replicant, I don't need to be lenient anymore. Don't come to me for wasting human resources in the future. Xia Luo pulled out the unused double swords. He didn't even use the swords with his recent combat power, and he managed to defeat Izzy, Niji, and Yongji just by relying on strength and speed. The clone soldiers rushed forward without any fear or emotion. The domineering and imposing deterrence had little effect on them. Lion, Thousand Cut Valley, shwa 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 shwa. A series of sharp sword chi capable of cutting through steel, swiftly traversing the replicating army like a fierce wind and rain. The clone soldiers are like fruits in the fruit ninja, allowing the sword energy of Xia Luo to cut them off. That's armed and domineering. You have the ability to dominate in places like the Four Seas, and that's the move of the Golden Lion, right? What kind of person are you, this guy? Jiaji's face showed shock. When Izzy was kicked away just now, he didn't see clearly because he was only using his dominance for a moment. However, after using his double swords just now, you can clearly see the armed colors and domineering aura covering the double swords, and the strength is not low. You have mastered the aura of hardening, winding, and external release. Me. Mr. Ski can be considered my master, even though we've only been together for 2 years. Xia Luo's expression was lost in memories, recalling the scenes of Shi Ji teaching him over the past 2 years. I see, the heir of the Golden Lion. I remember, you are the double-blade Lu mentioned in the news a while ago. Bounty hunter Xia Luo, right? The report of the death of the Golden Lion also came from you, right? Oh. I didn't expect to hear about my reputation. I thought I had been hiding well and didn't receive much attention. Humph, indeed, no one would have thought that the famous bounty hunter would actually be the successor of that legendary pirate. It's really ironic, even the navy has been played around by you. Jiaji became increasingly wary of Xia Luo. The man had been hiding, but now he had exposed the situation to himself. What exactly did he want to do? Unconsciously, Jiaji's attitude also softened, losing the initial arrogance and arrogance. Have you calmed down? Then we can talk now, Xia Luo said with a smile as he saw Jiaji's attitude soften. If you want to win over Jelma 66, I advise you not to think too much. Even if you try your best, I won't be able to agree to it. After much thought, Jiaji could only think that Xia Luo was going to subdue Jelma 66, otherwise there was no need to expose himself for the sake of a few sets of battle clothes, a man who had endured for so long. In Jiaji's eyes, Luo had already become a mastermind who knew how to hide himself. Ha ha ha, I think you got something wrong. I'm not trying to win over Gel Malay, people are actually here to cooperate, take a look at this first. Xia Luo laughed heartily and then threw a brief diagram of the arc reactor to Jiaji. Jiaji picked up the blueprint and carefully looked at it. After a while, his face turned shocked and he said, "Where did you get this from? If this energy design can be applied to battle clothes, its power will increase by at least 5 times. The blueprint design provided by Xia Luo is really exquisite. He, who has been engaged in research for many years, also has some difficulty understanding some designs, but it does not hinder him from understanding the purpose of this thing. If you want to know, let's talk about it in a different place. This is not the place for conversation." Xia Luo did not answer the question of value, but instead suggested changing places to discuss slowly. "Come with me, Lei Jiu, you also come with me." After a calm reflection, Jiaji still made a choice. After thinking about what Luo had just said, he spoke to Lei Jiu again. Jiaji ordered the clone soldiers to carry the fallen Izzy, Niji, and Yongji back for treatment, and then led Xiaolua towards the largest castle. Chapter 8. My Sword, Battle. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tell me, how do you want to hand over this blueprint? Gotzi asked Luo from the main seat in a conference hall of the castle. He, didn't I just say that? I'm here to cooperate. If King Jiaji is still talking about why he's not sincere, then it won't be meaningful. Xia Luo chuckled and was amused by Jiaji's attempt to obtain this blueprint through exchange. The value of this blueprint is evident to all. Especially for countries like Jelma 66 that rely on technology to enhance their combat capabilities, it is undoubtedly a sky-high price. Ah, I can give it to you, Lei Jiu. I can also make the battle clothes for you, including the sword you need. I can also help you recast it. That's it. Jiaji exhaled a mouthful of turbid air and surrendered. Father. Lei Jiu was a bit shocked. She was just curious why Jiaji called her to discuss this matter together, but she didn't expect to be just a bargaining chip. Xia Luo shook his head and said loudly. Not enough. What? What other demands do you have? Gotzi was a bit angry, and although he had followed the other party's previous request surprisingly, he changed his mind again, but he endured the importance of this blueprint. Don't get angry, it's just some small requests. I can collaborate with you on the technology of the arc reactor, but in the future, if I need new battle clothes, you must help me make them. But don't worry, it won't be too much. And I've heard that the cultivators of the Bloodline factor cannot resist you, right? I need you to lift this command against Leijio. Xia Luo propped his face with one hand and looked at Jiaji playfully, hoping for his reaction. Leijio was a bit surprised. What Xia Luo said didn't seem like a joke. Is it true that she fell in love at first sight from the beginning? Thinking of this, Leijio couldn't help but blush. She was the only one among the children of the Smog family who retained emotional connections as a reformer. At the same time, she did not like to stay in the kingdom of Germa, as she could not resist her father's orders and could not escape the kingdom of Germa. She yearned for the sea, yearned for freedom, and in her childhood, she helped Sanji escape from this kingdom. Jiaji, on the other hand, calmed down slightly after hearing Xia Luo's words and pondered over his thoughts. If that's all, I can promise you. After pondering heavily and calmly, Jiaji still agreed to Luo's request. From now on, Leijio, you don't have to follow my orders anymore. Just follow Captain Luo. Jiaji only issued a command, but this extremely contradictory command was like turning on a switch. Leijio felt her body suddenly relax a lot, and the thought that Jiaji couldn't resist dissipated. To lift the reformed person's inability to resist Jiaji's command, all he needed was one sentence. Well, that's right, isn't it? This is the complete design drawing. Xia Luo took out the design of the arc reactor and threw it to Jiaji, who, like a precious treasure, picked up this precious information to review. How long does it take to add the arc reactor to the production of the battle suit? Xia Luo inquired and asked. I don't know, it could be 1 month, 2 months, or a year, everything depends on the experiment. Jiaji didn't look up at Luo, but carefully looked at the information and casually replied. Later, Xia Luo took out a small piece of Zhenjin and threw it over, which caught Jiaji's attention. Xia Luo did not take out all the vibrating gold, but instead used the system to divide it into 4 pieces. What is this? Gotzi picked up the metal in confusion and carefully examined it in his palm. This is a special alloy with extremely hard quality. Can you make it blend into my sword and battle suit? Xia Luo did not explicitly state the effect of Zhenjin, but only mentioned the extremely hard special effect of this alloy. Zhenjin, also known as sound-absorbing steel, is one of the hardest substances in the Marvel universe. Although it is not the hardest, its defensive ability allows it to absorb kinetic energy, but Marvel ranks first in the world. There's no problem at all. I have the best equipment to make it, and no matter how hard the material is, it can melt. How long will it take for my sword to be completed? Leave the sword and I'll help you handle it within 3 days. Also, this is my phone worm. I'll notify you when it's finished. Upon hearing this, Xia Luo pulled out his double swords from his waist and threw them over, and Jia Ji also threw a phone worm at Xia Luo. Since that's the case, I'll wait for you for 3 days and get the battle suit ready as soon as possible. After speaking, Luo hugged Leijio and walked towards the door of the conference room, but stopped near the door. Oh, by the way, you should know that I am a fruit bearer, right? Xia Luo turned around and said with deep meaning, with a hint of coldness in his eyes. When he invaded here, he did not hide his whereabouts, so Gotzi should have also seen the scene of him floating in the sky. Combined with his identity as the heir of the Golden Lion, Gotzi could definitely guess that he had already consumed the ability of the drifting fruit. What do you mean? Jiaji frowned, not understanding what Xia Luo meant by these words. Although I don't understand why Mr. Golden Lion rarely does such things, I still want to emphasize it. The floating fruit can manipulate the entire island to take off at any time, or it can also manipulate the island to fall at the same time. So no matter where you hide, I will find you, even in the territory of the Fourth Emperor or the Navy headquarters. You probably don't want me to throw these small gifts into the air for you, do you? So remember not to add any other small actions to your battle suit. I will have someone check it later. If you find anything, then don't blame me for not showing you off for Lei Jiu's face. After speaking, Luo blinked at Lei Jiu. At this moment, Jiaji didn't even know that this was a threat from Xia Luo, but he just let out a cold snort. Humph, since I have agreed to cooperate with you, I will definitely not make a stumbling block inside. I will know when I have finished building it and give it a try. That's good. I'm glad to have a pleasant collaboration with King Jiaji this time. If there are any new technologies in the future, I'll be looking for you. Xia Luo waved and walked out with a smile on his face, holding Lei Jiu's hand tightly and letting her stick to him. Then used the ability of floating fruits to fly towards the triangular sailboat in the sky. After Xia Luo left, Jiaji showed a look of obsession and madness. Such exquisite energy technology is simply even more exquisite than that of Bergapunk. This is no longer a technology that can be imagined in contemporary times, it is simply an energy technology that can only be imagined 1,000 years ahead of the world. Gotzi, who was addicted to the design of the arc reactor, couldn't help but murmur. On the other side, Xia Luo returned to the sailboat with Lei Jiu. As soon as she landed, several women approached to inquire about Luo's situation. Are you okay, Xia Luo? Nami rushed forward and kept caressing to check if Luo was injured. It's okay, don't worry, didn't I say it? With my strength, I'm not inferior to anyone in the world or the amusement park. Xia Luo looked at Nami with a gentle expression, and after spending this time together, Nami from being forced to board the ship at the beginning, to trust and now to intimacy. Nami has already regarded Xia Luo as one of the valued family members. Who is she? At this moment, Nami realized that Lei Jiu, who was being held by Xia Luo, had just been worried about Xia Luo, so at first glance, he only looked at Luo and didn't care about the Lei Jiu he was holding. After calming down now, I found that Xia Luo was still holding another woman in his arms. This made Nami a little angry. She looked at Lei Jiu with hostile eyes, then grabbed Luo's waist and spoke with her eyes. Alright, you guys, I'm worried about you for so long here, but you actually ran out to find other women. Hello, I'm Vince Mock Rejoice, and I'll be Captain Luo's person from now on. Lei Jiu spoke in an intimate tone, her expression still revealing an ambiguous expression, and she leaned her head lightly against Luo's shoulder. What kind of person is Luo? The crew is the crew. You're the youngest, please line up at the back for me. Lei Jiu's words seemed to provoke Nami in an instant. Chapter 9. Oh, women, it's really hard to understand. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hehe, Captain Xia Luo said he fell in love with me at first sight when he saw me, and even requested me to board his ship for cooperation. Lei Jiu, holding her cheek with one hand and a shy smile on her face, continued to provoke Nami without considering the matter too big. What? Xia Luo, you bastard LSP, you eat in the bowl and look at what's in the pot all day, right? Don't come to me again in the future. Nami was furious and wanted to push Xia Luo towards the cabin. Xia Luo, how dare you let her go? He immediately hugged her and comforted her. There's nothing else, I didn't love you the most that time, Nami. Isn't it because there aren't many people around, so I'll find a few companions to help you relax. Xia Luo smiled helplessly and comforted her for a while with sweet words. In the end, the young Nami was still unable to defeat LSP Xia Luo and fled back to the cabin with a blush. In this public scene, her sister was also present, and Nami's face was still thin. Lei Jiu, you too. This kind of appearance is not suitable for you. After spending some time with Nami, you will know that she is not bad either. Hehe, what kind of person does Captain Luo think suits me? On the contrary, Lei Jiu appeared even more alluring. The usual appearance is fine. You can visit here first. Later, I will take you back to our base. After all, you still have to stay here for 3 days. Xia Luo let go of Lei Jiu. He was really afraid that now he couldn't help but carry Lei Jiu back to the captain's cabin. Yes, Captain Luo, Lei Jiu chuckled lightly. Hello, Sister Lei Jiu, I am Kuya, the ship doctor of this ship. Please take good care of me in the future. Kia smiled and walked forward, grabbing Lei Jiu's hand and saying. You are Kuya. Xia Luo just told me about you, saying that you are the little angel on his ship and can come to see you anytime you get sick. Lei Jiu said with a gentle expression on her face. Kuya and Noki Gao did not have as much hostility towards Lei Jiu as Nami did, and they quickly became acquainted. It can only be said that she is truly Lei Jiu. She has a gentle personality, elegant demeanor, and is good at socializing, making her look like a palace lady. Hey, you're not really interested in her, that's why you came all the way to Beihai to find her. Karina walked over to Xia Luo and used her elbow to bump into his stomach, lowering her voice curiously and asking. Log in to earn coins. Hey, what the big truth is. I used to catch you on the boat because I liked you. I knew you didn't change your color. There are so many beautiful women on the ship, but if you don't take action, you'll just go find someone outside. Karina said with a speechless expression. Hee, are you talking about you? Speaking of which, I remember someone promised me a reward as long as they came back from shopping with her, but I don't know who forgot about it. Xia Luo had a wicked smile on his face, almost as Karina, who had been named, blushed and retorted. Oh, it's just a reward. What's so important? I'll just give it back to you in the future. No, I need it now. Ah. Alas, the bathtub in the bathroom of this newly replaced ship is quite large, but it has always been lonely for me to take a shower alone. Why don't we go take a shower together? Let's treat it as my little reward. After speaking, just take it on. Hey, let's change the reward or something else. It's still daylight, so let's wait until night for showers or something like that. Karina blushed and spoke in an extremely weak voice beside the lower ear. Xia Luo ignored what Karina said and walked straight into the cabin. Nokigo noticed the situation on the side, but just chuckled and watched as she walked away. An hour later passed. Xia Luo opened the bathroom door, filled with the mist of hot water, and the two of them walked out of the bathroom. Karina's face was flushed with a hint of shyness. I really didn't know you learned these strange things. Hee, if it weren't for seeing that you're already tired, it wouldn't be a problem to wash for a few more hours. Karina rolled her eyes at him and turned back to her room. In fact, it has the physique of a steel balloon, coupled with its ability to absorb the energy of food. In a situation of equal strength, even fighting against the fourth emperor or a naval general for 10 days and 10 nights is not a big deal. It is estimated that in the end, the navy generals will have to exhaust themselves first. Xia Luo returned to his room, changed his clothes, and walked to the lobby. At this moment, the hall was filled with laughter and joy. Lei Jiu, Nami, and Noki Gaojing didn't know what they were talking about, but everything was peaceful. Xia Luo looked at the scene in surprise, and now Nami, who had just been very at odds with Lei Jiu, was talking to Lei Jiu with a smile on her face. What is the situation? Xia Luo looked puzzled. Lei Jiu across from him was the first to notice his arrival and blinked at him. Good guy, she deserves to be a sociable woman. Nami, this young man, is too young to fight against you. At this moment, others also noticed the arrival of Xia Luo. Xia Luo, you're here. Where did you go just now? I can't find you no matter what, and so can Karina. Nami happily leaned in when she saw it. Me. I just got a little hot and took a shower. Karina probably got a bit tired and went back to her room to rest. So, is the weather very hot? I feel okay. Nami felt a bit strange, but she didn't care and said happily. Speaking of which, how did your relationship with Lei Jiao suddenly become so good? Nami's face suddenly blushed when asked by Xia Luo, and she pushed him to Nokigo's side. It's nothing, you don't need to know about girls' topics. Xia Luo walked over to Lei Jiao with a puzzled expression and sat down, then quietly asked. What did you say to Nami? How could you handle it so quickly? Lei Jiao smiled mysteriously and said something similar to Nami. It's better not to participate in girls' secrets. Cut if you don't say it, don't say it. Luo turned his head and didn't ask again. Brother Xia Luo, come and taste my newly researched pudding. Kia pushed a small dining cart over with a plate of pudding in the middle. It looks quite delicious, Xia Kia. Xia Luo took it, picked it up with a fork and threw it into his mouth, then showed a happy smile. Sister Nami, come and try it too. Kia picked up the pudding from the dining car and handed it to the other women. Sister Kia's craftsmanship has improved again, and the desserts are becoming more and more delicious. Nokigo directly praised it. Indeed, this is the most delicious dessert I have ever tasted, Lei Jiao praised without hesitation after tasting the taste. No, compared to Sister Noki, her cooking skills are still far behind. After all, Brother Luo said that Sister Noki has already reached a high-level culinary level, and I am still in the intermediate level. Kuya was praised with some shyness. Speaking of which, I'm a bit curious. Are you all chefs originally? Lei Jiao asked curiously. From her previous conversation, she had some words from Nami and learned that everyone has a hobby of making delicious food. She was a bit curious about how Xia Luo searched for so many chefs. Can only be considered a novice chef. That guy from Xiaolua has a great appetite and can only learn how to cook. Otherwise, Noki will be very tired of cooking alone when he is high. Nami took a beautiful bite of the pudding and replied. I see. Lei Jiao felt lost in thought. Yoshi, we're ready to start cooking dinner. Let's go back to the island first. After finishing the pudding, Xia Luo stood up and stretched his waist, walking towards the outside of the cabin. Are there any other islands nearby? Do you want to return to the kingdom of Jelma? Lei Jiao was a bit curious and asked Nami next to her. You will know soon, it will definitely startle your chin. Nami pretended to be mysterious and didn't answer, just put on a smiling face. As Xia Luo controlled the ship to fly higher and higher, he passed through thick clouds and finally reached the top of the clouds. Lei Jiao, who walked out of the cabin, couldn't help but be shocked by the scene before her. This is a naval base. Chapter 10. Nami's Enlightenment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The 16th branch of the naval base appears above the clouds. Sure enough, was that what was reported a few days ago what you did? Lei Jiao said in a positive tone. If you're talking about the 16th Navy branch in the East China Sea, that's right, it's what we did. Xia Luo responded with a slight smile. Why do you do this? Are you not afraid of being retaliated by the Navy? Lei Jiao asked in confusion. In her opinion, if it's an island, all she needs to do is search for an uninhabited island. Why choose a striking naval base? It's a long story, but those guys in the Navy are also hypocritical. They have already obtained intelligence but haven't disclosed it. Later, Xia Luo and Lei Jiao told the story of Nami and why she had to take action against the Navy. I see, it's for Namasang's sake. Captain Xia Luo is really a good captain who thinks about the crew. This is what we call a red face when angry with a crown. After listening to the explanation, Lei Jiao suddenly became cheerful and joked. That's right, as long as it's a crew member who dares to bully me, I will do whatever it takes revenge him, even if the Navy comes, it's useless. It angered me, so I directly operated over a dozen giant islands to sink his naval headquarters. It was useless for anyone to stop it. Faced with Lei Jiu's teasing, Xiao Luo calmly uttered extremely terrifying words. At this moment, Lei Jiu deeply felt the protection of the man in front of her. Hehe, you're really a responsible captain, so please pay more attention in the future. Lei Jiu's mouth slightly curled up and extended her palm. Xiao Luo was stunned for a moment, then grabbed Lei Jiu's hand and smiled. I thought it would take some time for you to actually board the ship. Hehe, actually I was planning to secretly find an opportunity to escape when I landed later. Lei Jiu held her right hand and covered her mouth with a soft smile, ignoring any thoughts Luo might have when she heard it. Why confess at this moment? Xiao Luo was a bit surprised and didn't understand what he had done, making the girl in front of him admit himself. There's no reason, the atmosphere on the ship is very good. This kind of free atmosphere is the life I want. I cook and chat with my friends every day, go to different parts of the world to enjoy the beautiful scenery, and live freely. Lei Jiu walked to the side of the ship and leaned against the railing, taking a deep breath. Through the clouds, she looked at the sea below with a softer expression. And I haven't gone anywhere else, it's not bad to be by your side instead of drifting in the ocean. Xiao Luo walked over and hugged Lei Jiu's waist, winked at her, and gave her a thumbs up. Captain Xiao Luo, do you usually treat the crew like this? Lei Jiu smiled and pointed to the palm he held around her waist. That's right. This is X-harassment, Lei Jiu smiled and took Luo's palm away. What kind of harassment is X? This is my love for the crew. I treat every crew member equally. Xiao Luo embraced his chest with both hands and spoke with righteous words. Well, I finally understand that Nami sauce says things you sometimes dislike, Lei Jiu said with some distress. What? What did Nami sauce say about me? The appearance of Xiao Luo being hit on his face made Lei Jiu chuckle on the side. Soon, the sailboat landed at the port. Welcome to our secret base. Longyu Island. Xiao Luo opened his arms and boasted to Lei Jiu. Ha! When did you even give a name? Nami asked in surprise, not even knowing that the base had changed its name. Ha ha ha, just now, we can't always call this island a naval branch, so we just gave it a name. Come on, Lei Jiu. Let me take you on a tour of this place. Nami and the others are still cooking dinner, so let's not disturb them for now. Xiao Luo laughed and then picked up Lei Jiu's hand to take her on a tour of the island. Actually, I also want to cook with Nami and the others, it would be very interesting. Lei Jiu hesitated for a moment before expressing her plans. Hey! Cough, don't worry too much. There's plenty of time in the future, so let me take you to familiarize yourself with this island first. When you have time later, I'll teach you how to cook. Can Captain Xiao Luo still cook? Lei Jiu is a bit curious. Humph, you don't know that, right? Actually, Nami and Karina are both. It's the chef I taught. Xiao Luo clasped his arms and looked proud, attributing the credit for his advanced culinary book to himself. I'm impressed by Captain Luo, Lei Jiu clapped her hands and chuckled lightly. The man in front of me is really easy to understand. He has some petty narcissism and a tendency to pretend to be B. He is also very decisive and sharp in battles, and extremely protective of his companions. We also need to add an LSP attribute. But he is really a good captain. Lei Jiu thought so in her heart, and her smile became even more brilliant. Then, as Xiao Luo grabbed his hand, he slowly explained the facilities on the island. However, when Luo introduced the crew training room, he couldn't help but be surprised. Is this the key to becoming stronger? Lei Jiu asked in surprise and stepped forward to touch the door, feeling somewhat unbelievable. That's right, now Nami, Nokigo, and Karina will all train here, but Kaya will also exercise here for a while in addition to studying medicine every day. But starting from tomorrow, you are also a member of this place, and I will do my best. I will teach you how to become stronger. Speaking of which, Xia Luo's expression also became serious. He has always been very strict in teaching his crew to become stronger. That's really exciting. Hahaha, Lei Jiu, your physical fitness is much higher than that of Nami and others, so there are also many things you can cultivate. I will personally teach you the application of armed color domineering, as well as the methods of witnessing color domineering, as well as the Navy's 6-style shavers and moon steps. These are commonly used techniques in future practical combat. Xia Luo shared her training plan for Lei Jiu. Oh, by the way, if you want to learn culinary skills, you can also learn here. After all, it can achieve twice the result with half the effort. Later, Nami will give you advanced cooking books to learn. I suddenly remembered that Lei Jiu was also very interested in cooking, and then gave me an instruction. Is it twice the result with half the effort? It's really a magical demon fruit ability. Lei Jiu murmured softly. We have almost finished introducing the facilities of this island. Now let's go back and try the feast they made. Xia Luola held Lei Jiu in her arms and flew towards the position of the restaurant. The large table in the restaurant is now filled with various exquisite foods. Xia Luo's eyes lit up and rushed up directly. Hey, you guys, wash your hands before eating. Karina grabbed Xia Luo's face, and at this moment, Xia Luo felt like he had eaten the rubber demon fruit. His face stretched, but it didn't affect his eating speed at all. Isn't this Carlina sauce the food you made so delicious? I can't help but taste it for you first. Xia Luo couldn't pronounce clearly while eating, and there was still a piece of sea animal meat in his mouth that hadn't been swallowed. Karina had a well on her head, and Luo felt a chill in her spine as her perspective kept shaking like a raging river. You're just trying to steal food, right? Wash your hands well and wait for us to finish. Xia Luo was thrown directly to the sink. Faced with Karina's roar, he swallowed the meat in his mouth and stood up to wash his hands, sitting quietly at the table. Lei Jiu chuckled lightly at this scene, then washed her hands and sat next to Xia Luo. This atmosphere has always been the life she has longed for, but it can never be achieved within the territory of King Jelmer. Announce the start of dinner as Nami's last dish is served. Xia Luo began to ravage the food on the table in a stormy position. A few women also smiled when they saw how much Luo liked the dishes he cooked. After dinner, Xia Luo suggested swimming in the pool and received unanimous approval from others. Late at night, the door to Xia Luo's room quietly opened. A petite figure quietly walked in from behind the door. The figure walked up to Xia Luo's bed, eager to try several times, but also somewhat timid. In the end, it seemed like something had come to mind, but in the end, I bravely rushed forward.